Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of MTG Study Hall Social Distance Edition. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Brett. Lily had a thing come up last minute, so it is just going to be JC and Tam and myself on the show tonight, but that's totally fine because we have a lot. We have so much to talk about. We have the whole Zendikar set came out. Before we do that, though, Tam has some bookkeeping he is going to take care of for us. Take it away, Tam.
Absolutely. If you like the show and you want to support us, please go out to patreon.com/TCG University. Sub out there at any of the levels. Get access to the podcast early and live ad free. If you don't have any bucks to toss, that's totally chill. You can catch us on other platforms such as YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, all of that super rad about a week later. Big shout outs to our peeps on Patreon. We've got Addie, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albano, Bryce Rasek, Chris Miner, Clay Cardwell, Jacob Masur, Jay Rogers, Jarrett Hubbard, Jesse Cervini, Jesse Morrison, Jesse Nix, John Stone, Justin Farce, Justin Hobb, Kat Maria, Kevin Broberg, Lucinda Letica, Okami Law, Orlando Valdez, Sandos, Paul Casagrande, Peyton Kiker, Ransom McArthur, Samantha Stevens, the baddest bitch around, Sean O'Brien, Theodore Rees, and Tyler Zampies. Big shout out to you guys. Thank you so much. Gotta shout out the fact that our exclusive merch this month out on Patreon are TCGU life counters. They are it is a life counter of our symbol of the shield that's like right above me. And it's a life counter that goes all the way up to 30. It's made out of wood, like these coasters. Boop. And so like
and trees.
A wooden life counter that is fairly sturdy. Yeah. Lastly, shout-outs to our sponsors, Cards Custom Build, Inked Gaming, Dex Protection, and Nuclear Inked Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. Thank you for helping us keep the lights on.
I thought my trees are made of wood joke was funny. Anyway, before we launch into it.
It actually just made me a little sad. I had like a Fern Gully flash for a moment.
I reminded you that things are made out of trees. I'm surrounded by dead trees. Anyway, before we launch into the show, let's talk about what we've been doing in Magic this past week. JC, what have you been doing in Magic?
Oh, just some Zendikar spoilers and such, and being sad about the shipping delays. I'm real excited about Zendikar and in general. So,
what's up with the shipping delays?
Oh, they said that they were kind of vague on it. They were just said that like the shipping delays won't quite hit for the release, so they've stopped taking pre-orders to not like overflow or something like that. And
they did release an official statement. Zendikar will have its release the paper release planned on schedule. I'd have to double check on that. And then they had to cut a lot of allotments, but the second wave is coming the week after, so it's not too bad. Jumpstart, they're still trying. Jumpstart is unfortunately rare right now, so a bunch of those like special cool new cards that everyone's hyped about.
It's so good too.
Yeah, it's such a good format, but like the blue mill guy is like $100, and the green elf lord is like $80. So like this unlimited print run for new players is now a super expensive product that's super hard to track down. But we are getting more Jumpstart soon. They're trying on it. They're going to give us deets when they can. The Commander Legends special boosters, I'm totally blanking. The collector's boosters are going to be delayed, but not Commander Legends. So it's not terrible. The Zendikar stuff's a bummer, but it looks like it's only going to be a week delay, so it's not. Initially, I'd heard it might have been longer than that, which would have been really bad because you lose a lot of that initial set hype after those first couple weeks. But
yeah,
a week,
7 to 10 days, it looks like, after the first wave. The second wave will come.
So yeah, I haven't gotten anything pre-ordered yet. I'm hoping to soon, and then worst case scenario, gotta wait a week, which is a shame because I'm super excited about all the new stuff. Really interested to see how these set boosters sell, because the stuff I've heard preliminarily is way more set boosters are like boxes are getting pre-ordered than draft boxes, like a huge percentage, like over 60-70% more pre-orders on those. So I think we are going to see a radical shift in how people buy cards with this new product. But we're still in the intro thing. JC, anything else in Magic?
Nope, on to you.
All right, Tam, anything in Magic this past week?
I've just been looking at spoilers as they come out. Since I'm on this podcast more, I've just been like, as opposed to going back in time, I'm just like starting here and moving forward, right? Because there's like so much of a history inside of the game. So I just thought it'd just be better to look at stuff. And I just like keep looking, asking questions. Like I had a question in the pre-show about Kicker, and is Kicker in addition to the mana cost or in replacement of?
In addition.
In addition. It's in addition. I learned that today. And a lot of these cards are just like awesome, and we're going to talk about it here in just a second.
Just as a note, Tim, I honestly think that's the best way to do it. That's why I recommend a lot of people, if they're starting into Magic, just get into drafting and pre-releases, and if anything, standard. I know a lot of people are getting into Commander because that's what their friends play, but it helps if you get a basis of understanding for Magic, and then you just kind of pick up where it's running right now instead of trying to delve into the 20 something years of history of it.
28. Yeah, no, it's and that's generally anytime anyone's like, how do I start with Magic? I say get Arena, which we're gonna have Arena on our phones soon, so it's gonna be much easier to tell people to get Arena. That's coming real soon. Yeah, I'm
nice.
very excited. As for me and Magic, alongside everybody else, checking out spoilers, played a little bit of Paper Commander, nothing too crazy. I go through phases, so like when the new set's about to come out, I generally get so excited for the new cards I don't want to play with my old ones. Which is one of the reasons why I apologize. We didn't do a Brawl with Brett stream. I was beat yesterday, and I'm real sick of the old cards. So we're going to do a farewell pre-rotation standard on Wednesday. I promise. We will do that. And then after that, we get all brand new cards. So I will be retooling Commander decks, building new stuff, playing stuff on Arena, doing a little extra streaming even, potentially in the month of November. So, I will be playing a lot of Magic coming up. Rotation is my favorite time. I love rotation. I love it when Standard gets small again. I love it when Brawl gets shaken up. I love new cards and new sets for my Commander decks. I like buying product, so excited to buy my product. And hoping the delays aren't too bad. So that's been me, and let's get into it. So we're going to just roll right into it and keep talking about Zendikar because we have the whole set spoiled as of today.
The whole set. Whole kit and or caboodle.
Yes, which we've got a ton of super sweet stuff, and we were talking about this last week, but we could actually, now we don't have to be like, oh, I think this cycle's going to do blank because we've seen everything. So I'm going to maintain. I don't think any of these modal dual-faced cards are going to break Standard. I've been wrong before, but I think we're going to be safe. I think they're really sweet. Speaking of the dual-faced cards, we have got official stuff from Morrow saying that Kaldheim and Strixhaven are going to have modal dual-faced cards, and they will be different. So each one they're going to be doing it a different way. So they will not be. So this set was all land on one side, and then I think it's all instant sorceries and creatures, or another land on the other side. We will complete the cycle of dual lands. We'll get the other 4 in Kaldheim, and apparently we got an article from Morrow saying that it was Strixhaven that we were getting the modal dual-faced cards. And so Morrow had to make some proof of concept stuff, and the proof of concept stuff went so well that they decided to extend it into the other 2 sets before Strixhaven. So we are going to have dual-faced cards in all of the sets this year are going to, or I guess in Magic 2021, it probably not going to have dual-faced cards in Forgotten Realms in the D&D set, but we're going to have them in everything else. But Morrow's basically straight up told us we're going to get transform. You do not go to Innistrad and not do flip cards. So we'll have probably the traditional transforming flip cards in Innistrad.
Well, especially when you got werewolves and vampires and stuff, and that coming out, that's like game target stuff for dual face cards. I mean, honestly,
I will literally, it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, Morrow's basically straight out said on Blogatog, it wouldn't be I mean, he didn't say 100%, but he said it. It's they were going to get him. But I am so down on these cards. Tam and I were talking a little bit about the pre-show. Just like I've got the full spoiler up on my other monitor here. Will
you drop a link in the chat?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got the official Wizard spoiler here where you can play with you can like see the stuff and transform the stuff and see all of the official art in a great resolution. So everybody take a look at this. It's like I'm literally in here like flipping the arts back and forth, and like normally I don't care that much about the flavor text, but the art, the flavor text, the continuation of the art is just so good on these. Like, oh my gosh, I am so excited for these flip cards. I'm going to stick so many of these in Commander decks. And I was talking a little bit to Tam before the show. It's one of the things that makes me so excited for these is I don't think they're going to be a problem power level wise on most of them. Maybe the Mythic cycle might be rough because you can't have them come into play on tap, but like you lose so much tempo with tap lands, and so in 1v1 you can't spare that. And if you jam your deck full of tap lands, you'll probably lose. But in lower powered Commander, where you're just trying to where you're not trying to win so hard, you can run way more tap lands. So like these are going to be really popular and really cool for Commander, but they probably aren't going to break a bunch of formats like Wizards has been doing recently.
Did you drop that link in the Discord chat or the Facebook chat?
I threw that in the Facebook, and I threw that in the YouTube chat.
Oh, okay.
So if the audience at home can follow along, I will throw it down here so y'all can see it too. So I just threw that in our chat, and it's also in our YouTube chat.
Perfect.
I totally agree with you though, because I think as far as what your deck's pacing looks like, replacing all your lands with these dual face lands can just not be great, and because they're all tap, and also like all the things that they can be otherwise, all the regular cards, regular spells, I feel like you could just replace that card with a better version of it, especially in Commander. And I don't feel like they're especially strong in the Standard environment. I don't think any of them are going to be banned. And that's me.
I completely agree. I think some are good. Like I think there's certain, particularly some of the blue ones. Like I think some control decks are going to want to play these because like control decks can spare them. So, like I think they're going to see play. I'm not saying I don't think they're going to see standard play. I just don't think they're going to ruin standard decks and like own people. I don't think people are going to be running 6 basic land standard decks. The perfect card for me that sums this all up is Fling. Fling is one of my favorite cards of all time. So people who don't know. It is a instant for 1 red and 1. As an additional cost to cast Fling, you have to sacrifice a creature, and then it deals damage to any target equal to the sacrificed creature's power. I love that card. But the problem with it is you 2 for 1 yourself. So you have to spend a card from your hand, and you have to sacrifice one of your creatures. Now, you can do some crazy stuff, and if you've made a huge creature, you can. I had a whole deck built around just killing people with Fling, and I love it. But it's just not that strong of a card. But one of the flip cards is Kazul's Fury, and it flips into Kazul's Cliffs. And basically every red EDH deck I ever build always ends up with a Fling in it, and it always hits the cutting room floor. And I'm always super sad to do it, but it's just not worth it. But now I can I can go into all of my like 1 or 2 color red decks, take out a mountain, and put a Fling in. And it costs 3 mana, so it's not the same as Fling. It's a little bit worse. But now I get to run that in Commander, and
what's the card you're talking about?
It's Kazul's Fury is the card I'm talking about, and it's basically Fling, but it costs 1 more, and the other side is a tapped land for red, and the other side is Kazul's Cliffs. And so, like, out of all of the cards, out of all the crazy mythics and cool planeswalkers and all this stuff, this uncommon is the card I'm most excited about because this is the card that I'm going to be putting in all of my decks. Like every single red Commander deck is probably getting one of these cards. Because I just love it, and it just lowers that opportunity cost. And we also have a Threaten. I love Threaten effects. Threaten effects are ones where you almost knocked my drink over. Threaten effects are ones where you gain control of a creature an opponent controls till the end of turn. And we have one. We have Song Mad Treachery. And normally this effect costs 3, or if it costs more than 3, you get an extra effect stapled onto it. This one costs 5. But the other side's a land. So that's another card that's going to go in a ton of my decks because I can't just run a one-off Threaten effect in Commander. It's not good enough. But I can if one of the sides is a land.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the fact that all these cards flip. I think it's a really interesting spot. And I like the fact that they are, as you said, like a bit overcosted, right?
Mm-hmm. But it's like I don't think it's too much. I mean, I'm not necessarily the best at reading and guessing this power level stuff, but like I've seen a lot of people kind of complain. It's such a weird place, and this is why I just don't know what to expect, because half of the people I see are saying this is too much, this is breaking an intrinsic rule of Magic, these are going to be a huge problem, and the other half is people are complaining about these cards. And I think I understand the complaint, because if you know what Fling does, well, this is a worse Fling, it costs more. Yeah, but you can't play Fling as a land when you need it to be a land.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing for me. It's like the card, both sides of the card have to be weaker than a standard card, like a general card, just because obviously you can't. If it was better than Fling or regular Fling with a land on the back, why would you ever run Fling? So like you still have to keep balance in mind. And I see people whining, a strong word, complaining about these these mana costs, or these the level of the effect, and it's like, that's why I think they're balanced. Like, we have people right down the middle, and like, maybe I'm wrong on one or two of these, but I just don't see these ruining a format. I don't see these ruining any format, because I think the effects are balanced. That's what it is. They have to look a little weak, but because they're a little bit weak, it's a decision whether or not you run the weak effect that could double as a tap land, or the strong effect that is always what it's going to want you to be at the correct rate. That's my rant. Sorry, I realize I just talked a lot, but I have opinions about these cards.
I think the only thing that might get a little iffy might be the lands that are also other lands. Right? It's like, man, I really need X color right now. Oh, I found it. Hey.
So that's interesting. And actually, we didn't bring this up last week. So I'm gonna give you all a flashback to the olden days of Magic. The idea was after Alpha, where they had the traditional dual lands, which are just both basic land types. So it's a forest swamp. It's both. There's no downside to that card. Comes into play untapped. The idea was, when they made more dual lands, they didn't want anything to be better than basic lands. So there was always a downside. So the check lands, for example, it taps like one of them. So the cycle taps for 2 colors. So let's say the black-red one. The black-red one comes into play tapped unless you control a forest, a mountain, or a swamp. So that's the balancing factor. It can be better, but it can be worse. And so that was the hard and fast rule going forward, that they couldn't be better than a basic land. Also, back in the day, basic lands had a lot more hate. So there might be destroy all islands, destroy all plains, things like that. And they've stopped doing those. So this is, according to Morrow, this is them experimenting kind of with the idea of sort of pushing the power level on dual lands. And Morrow said one of the reasons they felt comfortable doing that is because basic lands being a basic land is an advantage now. Because there's so many cards that say tutor for a basic land. And there's a bunch of cards in this set, for example, that say like create a token for each basic land you control. So and there's also way less basic land hate. You're not blowing up all mountains anymore in standard. So this is them trying to push it, because arguably these are better than basic lands, because it comes into play untapped. And so I could play Plains, or I could play Bright Climb Pathway and always have an untapped white, and also I always have an untapped black if I need it to be. And so Morrow straight up said, like, this is an experiment. If these turn out to be too good, they'll probably take a step back. But if this is okay place to be, we might see more push dual lands coming forward, which I think is really exciting. And like, so right now, as I'm saying this, I'm just sitting here and I'm flipping all of the dual lands back and forth.
Yeah, and I just want to give kudos to Wizards, actually, having the flip. That's a nice little quality of life coding there. I don't imagine it was particularly difficult to code, but I'm glad you did it, and I appreciate you, Wizards.
Yeah, there's like the button. So Jason talked about the button on the page itself. If you haven't been to Wizards card image gallery, there's a little button, and you can press it, and the card literally turns the other way, so you get the whole effect of it.
It's actually up on the screen right now. I went ahead and made a new scene.
Oh, awesome! Thank you. No, that's a good deal, because you've got to see. I think it's just best to experience that. Also, that's super cool. I didn't know we could do that.
So what's the best card in the set? Who's the Uro? Right.
Yeah, hopefully no one, because Uro's a broken piece of garbage.
Who's the broken piece of garbage? There's always got to be one, right? There's always the biggest fish. Who's our biggest fish?
Oh boy, that's hard. I think they did a pretty good job.
Oh please, there's. Oh, come on, hold on.
Okay.
If I need to pivot the question to who are you most excited about, I can also do that.
So they released the deck list for Land's Wrath Commander recently here, and Obun Moldaya Ancestor. That looks to be cool. It's an elf spirit. It's a 3/3. It costs Naya and 1, so red, green, white, 1. And at the beginning of combat or on your turn, up to 1 target land you control becomes an XX elemental creature with trample and haste until end of turn, where X is Obun's power. It's still a land. And it's got landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, put a 1/1 counter on target creature. So it's going to be in the commander set. I'm excited for it. I don't think it'll be super powerful. Here, I'll put the spelling in chat and in Discord here
Please.
for ease.
And we also,
Yes.
instead of Planeswalker decks, we're getting intro commander decks this set, and they're like $20 a pop, and they're really solid for $20 a pop commander. So yeah, I think I like both of the new legends for those, and I don't think either of them is too much. Tam, I think I've got an answer for your question.
It's not
if
showing
the
up on the
adventure-
screen. But anywho.
If the adventure deck is a deck, I think Spoils of Adventure could be really good. That is a 6 mana, so it's 4 colorless, blue and a white, and it costs 1 less for each creature in your party, and you gain 3 life and draw 3 cards, and it's an instant. So like, that's really good. I think the boring answer to this question is outside of the dual lands, which I think are obviously going to see a ton of play. It is the Selundai Vision. It is one of the uncommon blue flip cards. It is a 3 mana instant for blue, so it's a blue and 2. Look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom in a random order. And the other side is a tapped blue land. I think that is probably the best card in the set. I think that is going to see the most standard play. It's got really good dig. It's really good card selection, and it's also a tap land. So you can control decks normally want to run higher in the land department, and so the fact that you can run tap lands aren't great, but control decks can normally work with them. And so the fact that you can have a relevant turn 3 spell or a tap land, I think is I think that's the best card in the set. I don't think it's the most exciting answer. It's not the flashiest card in the set, but I think it's probably the best.
Yeah, and since you got on this topic too, there's also they revealed a Trove Warden, which is a 2 white. It's a cat beast with vigilance and landfall, and whenever a land enters your battlefield under your control, exile target permanent card with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard. So like a tap land, for instance. And when Trove Warden dies, put each permanent card exiled this way onto the battlefield. And what's interesting about this is I was reading an interview. And this is talking about one of the commander sets that's going to come out, one of the pre-con commander decks, which I'm both really excited about and really nervous about because I saw what happened to the Brawl decks, and I'm afraid that's going to happen again, and I hate that. But
is this card inside the set?
It's not in the standard set. It is part of the commander deck, so it's not legal in standard, but it is adjacent.
Got it.
Okay.
I was trying to look it up,
adjacent,
and I couldn't find it.
Yep, and it uses Zendikar's mechanics. Obviously, it's going to be, kind of in that place. But anyway, yeah. I wanted to mention this just because I'm not getting very off topic here, but they were giving an interview with some of the set designers for this, and he actually, one of them said that's we've heard loudly that white needs more support, especially in Commander. It's bad at card advantage and mana ramp. And so we have a number of cards in the pipeline that will help white out. We're going to focus on this area. So I think it's a really cool thing. I'm excited for, with the coming sets. So
I think I agree completely that I think that's going to be a really impactful commander card. All these they're really been pushing white, and it's somewhat. I mean, it only can reanimate. It's permanent. It's right. Permanent card with CMC 3 or less. So it's 3 or less, but there's so many utility cards or useful cards in white. So new card advantage for white seems really good. So I'm foreseeing that as a card that's probably going to run up in price because this is going to be the only place it's available. And I think it's going to be super impactful for standard. I also need to modify my answer to the most impactful card in the set. It's a reprint, so I wasn't thinking about it. It's Lotus Cobra. It's probably Lotus Cobra. That's in the main set. It's a 2/1 for 1 green and 1. It has landfall. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you add 1 mana of any color.
Yeah, that's good. It's a rare green snake.
It plays really well with Uro, and if they don't ban Uro and ramp is still the best thing to do, you can get so many dumb. So if you play this and then you play Uro, so turn 2 you play Lotus Cobra. And then turn 3, you play a land for the turn. You make a mana with Lotus Cobra. You pay 3 mana. You play Uro. You put a land into play. You get another mana. It's just dumb. It's just lets you just keep ramping and getting cards. So Lotus Cobra is the best card in the set. power level wise, probably for standard is my read on it. I mean, and I don't think that's a very brave stance to take. It's going to see play. It saw play last time. It's a reprint, so it saw play last time. It'll see play again.
From what you guys have seen, has this set gone? Obviously, you just did this Uro combo, which is like obvious. We consider him the biggest fish, right? Are there any things from previous sets that you go, Zendikar made this thing really cool? Like the first thought that I had was there's more Minotaurs, and we were talking on the podcast about there's this cool like Search 2 Minotaurs card that exists.
Yeah, it's standard legal. It was in the red Pharaoh's theme booster, but it is I think it's standard legal. Yeah, it's standard legal. Yeah, so it's like 7 mana. Go get like 4 Minotaurs.
Yeah,
and we got a hell of a Minotaur in this set.
Yeah,
so that's the Morog Fury of Akoum. He's the 6/6 for 6, and each creature you control gets +1/+0 for each time it's attacked this turn. And then landfall is when a land enters the battlefield under your control. If it's your main phase, there's an additional combat phase after this phase, and at the beginning of that combat, untap all the creatures you control. So it's a 6/6 for 6, but that stacks. So if you could play multiple lands, say with Uro or Ramp Spell, and you play 3 lands in a turn, you get 3 combats, and your creatures get bigger each time. So, yeah, like that card's super good. I saw some people talking about there's a card from Eldraine. Ironcrag Feat. It's 3 red and 1, and when it enters it's a sorcery, you cast it, you get 3 red mana, but you can only cast 1 more spell this turn. There is a Mythic Dragon, which I do not generally care that much about Mythic Dragons. I'm not a big dragon guy, but Leyline Tyrant is incredible. It's a 4/4 for 4. It's a 2 red and 2. It has flying, so you don't lose unspent red mana as steps and phases end. And when it dies, you may pay any amount of red, and when you do, it deals that much damage to any target. That's
good.
So good. So like when you spend, so like if you tap mana and then you go from say your main phase to combat, your mana drains. Every time you go through a step or a phase, your mana drains. And there's a few cards that ignore it, and generally the cards that ignore it are fairly strong. The original Green Omnith does it. Krufix does it. It's a good effect. And so not only is this a 4/4 for 4 with flying, which is a good rate, and not only does it let you save up your mana, when it dies, it gives you a place to spend your mana. So I've heard people talking about maybe some kind of big red or Ironcrag Feat. It's yet another instance of looking at Wizards and saying, how did you not foresee this being a problem? Currently, we have a banned card right now. It's I'm totally blanking. Fire's Invention is the red enchantment that lets you play spells equal to the number. You could cast 2 spells a turn equal to the number of lands you control. I cannot believe they were going to give us that card in Leyline Tyrant, because you could go turn 4 that, then play Leyline Tyrant for free, and then untap your mana, play 2 5-drops, and then tap all of your mana and float it with Leyline Tyrant and just build up this huge amount of red to shoot your opponent with. Like, I cannot believe they were going to let us do that.
Also,
when it says dies, does that mean it has to go to the yard, or
yes,
can it be removed from the game
No, yard.
Got it.
Dies is specifically battlefield to graveyard. So if you exile it, if you bounce it, if you do anything like that, you can get past it. So it's not unanswerable. But if you can stick a sack outlet around, which we have some pretty good sack outlets in standard, you can make sure you get your hit to the face. This card's just really solid, and I'm really glad they've been pushing some red cards here. So
speaking of red, can I just mention Nahiri's Lithoforming? It's red X, sacrifice X lands. For each land sacrificed this way, draw a card. You may play X additional lands this turn. Lands enter the battlefield tapped. We are in a landfall set.
Yep.
So say you're late in the game and you have a lot of creatures out with a lot of landfall triggers, and you have a lot of lands already in play, and you draw cards for each land that you sacrifice this way, and you already have a couple lands in hand. You can just do crazy game finishing things with that card.
Oh, and we can do better than that. So I've got a Borborygmos. My Borborygmos deck, which Borborygmos cares a lot about lands. The second one, I can't think of his subtitle. So that deck, there's multiple effects that let you play lands from your graveyard. And there's a new effect in this set that lets you play lands from graveyard, which is really strong. So if you have, and there's a 7-mana creature that lets you play lands from graveyards. If you have that or another effect that lets you do it, Random Pup Excavator or Crucible of Worlds. So let's say I sack 10 lands. I can play 10 extra lands. I can play those 10 lands I just sacked straight out of my graveyard and get 10 triggers
and draw 10 cards.
10 cards. Yeah, like it's
yeah.
No, this is a card I'm very like, normally like not even just outside of all of these new land spells, like just these lands, the dual face land cards. Like there's so many cards I want to stick in so many decks. I think I'm going to straight up build Akiri Fearless Voyager. She's the legendary red-white core. She's the 3/3 for 1 red, 1 white, and 1. So whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card, and then you can pay 1 white and unattach an equipment from a creature you control, and if you do, tap that creature and it gains indestructible. So like, first off, 3/3 for 3, it's fine.
She was the one that died in the trailer, isn't she?
Well, maybe. I'm just saying, this is actually her second card. She was a partner in one of the earlier commander decks. I'm hoping she lived because I've actually had I mean, first version of her was called Line Slinger, and if you throw a Line Slinger off a cliff, one would hope that they maybe sling some lines. I hope Akira's not dead.
She was paralyzed, but then you saw her flail. So
I'm just saying, I'm hoping we haven't seen the last of her, and if she's dead, that makes me sad. But
also, Nahiri, I want to like you. I really do, but you're terrible.
She's done nothing wrong. She's never done anything wrong.
She's done everything wrong.
No, Nahiri's nothing.
Every time.
Cam, can we get shirts that say Nahiri did nothing wrong for the channel?
Yeah, I'm down.
All right. Nahiri did nothing wrong.
As long as I know who Nahiri is. How spell it?
She's in the set. So it's Nah.
Watch the Zendikar Rising trailer.
Okay, in her defense,
and read about her vengeance.
I'm not going to defend the destruction. So it's Nahiri. So there's a card in the set. I'm not going to defend the whole Innistrad incident. The Innistrad. Let's call it the Innistrad kerfuffle. I'm not going to descend to the Innistrad kerfuffle. But when you get a team of adventurers and we say we're going to go get this relic, and then an adventurer dies while getting the relic, you don't get to be like, enough is enough. You're a paid adventurer. Sometimes you die. Akiri I do not fault Nahiri for chucking Akiri off a cliff. But I want to say really quick for Akiri, I'm going to probably build this as a commander deck, and I'm going to somehow be the guy who has 2 red-white commander decks. I don't know how that happened. They're giving red-white more card advantage, and it scales in commander. So whenever you attack a player with 1 or more equipped creatures, draw a card. So since it's 1 or more for a player, so I can only ever draw 1, even if I attack you with 10 creatures. But in Commander, if I attack each player with an equipped creature, I get to draw 3 cards. And that is not something you got to do a lot in a white-red Commander deck. So I think it's a really exciting card. I also just love equipment, and I have all of the swords in Batterskull, and I got a shiny new Stoneforge from Double Masters. So I've been looking for a deck to put them in. And I think Akiri is going to be that deck. And I really like the new equipment-based Nahiri, the Heir of Ancients. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I do too.
Normally, I'm jazzed for new cards for my commander decks. Rarely am I this jazzed because there's so much good stuff. Oh my gosh, Skyclave Relic, which is I think it takes a lot to get me excited about a mana rock. So it's a 3-mana artifact that taps for a mana of any color. It's indestructible, which is that's a Darksteel Ingot. I think no, it's not Darksteel Ingot. There is a very played commander artifact that does that. It's just it's 3 mana, it taps for a mana of any color, and it's indestructible. And indestructible is nice because artifacts get wiped a lot in commander.
That is Darksteel Ingot, isn't it?
Well, Darksteel Ingot is I think that's the 0-cost one that just doesn't do anything. Or maybe I'm thinking of Darksteel Relic. I think it is Darksteel Ingot. It's one of the. I'm going to check because it's going to bother me.
If you make the copies of it when it's kicked, are they also indestructible?
It is Darksteel Ingot.
It is Darksteel Ingot. Yes, they are. And so, as Tam pointed out, this has kicker 3, and when it enters the battlefield, it was kicked. You create 2 tapped tokens that are copies of it, which are also indestructible. So you can pay it as a 3-mana ramp spell for any color, which is pretty much on rate. There's a couple 2-mana ones that are better in Commander, but you don't feel bad when you play an indestructible one. But you can also play it as a 6-mana ramp you for 3, and all of them are indestructible. So so that card by itself gets you Metalcraft if you have a Metalcraft commander deck. There's a bunch of cards that care about the number of artifacts you control. It'll trigger things that care about artifacts coming into play. It is such a versatile card. We have so many just versatile cards. We have a new cycle of dual lands that are incredibly powerful. We have all these new modal dual face cards that are lands and something else. And then Kicker Kicker's such a great mechanic. And one of the reasons they don't use it too much is because it has so much design space. It sometimes is easy to get lost in it because there's so many things you can do with Kicker. So
how do you feel about Stonework Pack Beast?
Which color? What color is that?
It's another artifact. It's just a 2-drop. Its only ability really is it's also a cleric, rogue, warrior, and wizard.
Oh yeah,
so for
yeah.
a 2-drop, you made your party.
It's a 2/1 for 2 colorless. It's got all of the party creature types, and it's also a beast, which is not an irrelevant type. And then you can pay 2 mana to add 1 mana of any color, which while it doesn't seem super powerful, is super relevant and limited if you're trying to splash a card.
Okay.
So like, let's say you get a really, really good rare, but it's let's say you're in like a red blue deck, but you got a really good green blue card. If you're running that, you could maybe just get away with running like 1 forest and then you can splash your green blue card. And so it is going to be a limit. Oh, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say also, like you said though, Tim, like if you're running a gimmicky deck that relies on the party, which I think that that's a cool thing to build. I mean, I think this is a nice like utility card for getting that done.
No, I think it's a great. It's a limited all-star. Like I'm never going to be sad to take. I mean, and like I'm going to take this 7th, 8th, 9th pick maybe, but like I'm going to feel fine about it. It's also a 2/1 for 2, which for colorless, like I'm always going to be able to play it on turn 2 if I've got the mana for it. Feels really good. And I think there might be a party deck in Standard. I don't think this is going to get there, but like since you can get a full party if you go into 2 colors. I think there might be a white-blue party deck. Just like
that's what I'm looking at.
Some of the payoffs are really good, and most of the cards you don't need a full party on. And I'm sorry, it might be Magical Christmas Land to say 2 mana, draw 3, gain 3 life, but 3 mana, draw 3, gain 3 life. Hell, even 4 mana, draw 3, gain 3 life at instant speed seems super fine to me. And like because it's lateral class tribal, you don't have to go all in on anything. So you just get to pick and choose the very best. Like, what are the best clerics in my color? What are the best rogues in my color? So you don't have to go, I have to run every elf because I need a critical mass of elves. You get to pick and choose the best things. And as more sets come out, we're going to get more class stuff.
Speaking of cleric, that Angel of Destiny, Angel Cleric. It's a nice little double strike angel there.
I have no idea.
No one's going to let that live. But
I do not know if that card is like blah or incredible. I have no ability to assess that card whatsoever.
Yeah, because I look at it and I'm like, flying double strike 2/6, that's cool. And the combat damage effect is cool. And the people it attacks die is cool, but no one's gonna let that live, and it costs 5.
So I'll read that really quick so it's a 2/6 for 5. So white 3. It's an Angel Cleric with flying and double strike. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you and that player each gain that much life. So you can't kill your opponent with it. So like if you deal them 10 damage, they don't go up life. You deal them 10 and they gain 10. But at the beginning of your end step, if you have at least 15 more life than your starting life total, each player Angel of Destiny attack this turn loses the game. It also just gives all of your creatures lifelink, but like it's also not just lifelink. It lets you stack lifelink. So if you're already running something with lifelink, so you have a 5/5 with lifelink and you hit your opponent, their life total doesn't change, but you go up 10. Like this card seems sweet, and like so like you said, like yeah, your opponent's going to kill it. But if you're playing limited, it's okay to play this because if you can kill them, if you can get your life high enough, let's say you can hit them for 20 and gain 20 life, you'll just win. And if they manage to kill it, you weren't bringing their life total lower, but you've been bringing yours higher, and you weren't raising theirs. You were at least keeping them neutral. So, like, I think the card is like, I'm going to play this if I see it in limited, and it might be constructed playable.
Yeah, I mean, because also with flying and double strike, it has some, like, besides bouncing it or countering it, kind of evasion, because there's plenty of landfall effects and stuff that get you to pump creatures. You could definitely pump this double striker up to where their first strike damage does a whole bunch
And even
on the
like,
board.
it doesn't have haste, so it doesn't. So it still even does something the turn it comes down, because whenever your creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you get, so it gives all of your creatures that lifelink. If you're, let's say you're sitting at 15 and you have a pretty decent board, you can just play this and go up a bunch of life, and it got you some value. So it has the opportunity to get you value right away, which is the hallmark of a potentially playable card. So I'm fairly down on this card. I'm not saying like it's going to run away with standard, but like I think it's a sweet new commander.
It's not.
Sorry, a sweet new card for commander, I should say.
Yeah.
Tam's right. It's not a legendary creature, but it is a very. I can see it going in a lot of white decks, very easily. And I'm sorry, Tam. Were you saying something? I got excited about the angel.
I don't know, man. I actually think I'm gonna like. I think I might actually jump on Arena and play with this set.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. You should do some streaming too. I'd love to get your insights.
Me too,
Probably
Tim. Me too.
We are, as we did last week, are getting really excited talking about Zendikar cards. Let's all like pick one more card to talk about, and then we'll hit a quick commercial break and then move on to our other topic for the day. I have one ready if y'all want to look real quick.
By all means.
No, I got mine too.
Oh, you go. Why don't you go ahead, JC?
It's not special for its mechanics at all. Canyon Jerboa. It's a mouse. It costs 2 and white, and it's got landfall. Creatures get a 1/1 till end of turn. It's adorable. It's fucking adorable. And that's there you go. There you go. Enjoy.
This is the first non-token mouse in the game.
Yeah, true. Usually you got rats. You don't have a lot of mice.
The first mouse we got, the first reference to mouse we got, that adding the creature type to the game, was in Eldraine when it was the cursed pumpkin, like the pumpkin chariot. They gave you the mice tokens. This is the first paper mouse card, and I think it's super cool. And it's also like super limited playable, because that's
super limited playable.
You have a handful of creatures, and then you drop a couple lands. Everybody gets +2/+2. It's not bad.
Yep.
My card, final card I want to talk about is Sherix the Raging Isle. It is a legendary Leviathan crab for 2 blue and 2. It is a 0/17. Spells your opponents cast that target it cost 2 more to cast, so a very standard kind of blue protection. It's harder to kill it. You can pay 3 and it gets +X -X, where X is the number of islands you control. I don't think that, it's fine and limited. It can block anything. That is the highest non-silver bordered printed toughness in the game. Up until this point, we'd had a 16 toughness on Imperious Great Worm, I think. It's the indestructible worm. So this is the high, I'm not counting Unhinged and Unglued and unsets in general, highest printed toughness. I don't think it's going to be a standard powerhouse, but people are going to brew around it and play all the cards that let you deal damage equal to toughness. I know so many people, though, who have wanted a sea creatures EDH deck, mono blue sea creatures, and this is the perfect card because it's a Leviathan crab. There's a bunch of cards that care about Leviathans. There's not that much crab support, but the crabs that are there, people love. This is such a slam dunk for Commander. I'm so glad they made this card.
My card is going to be one of the flip lands. I want to say it's called Mirror something.
Let me scroll down.
I will find it.
What are the ones? Just the dual lands?
It's not a dual land per se. Let me actually just.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's the Glasspool Mimic, right?
Yes.
And Glasspool Shore, the rare blue flip dual face card.
And here's the deal. I don't know what's good or not. I think the flipped land art is so immaculate. It's so good with the other people inside the reflection, all the mimics. Wow.
No, this card is pretty sweet. I don't know. Again, for standard, it's hard to. I'm having a hard time guessing on some of these. The land side is just a tap blue land. The other side is a 3-mana shapeshifter rogue, which rogue matters. And you may have it enter the battlefield as a copy of a creature you control, except it is a shapeshifter rogue in addition to its other types. So for 3 mana, 1 blue and 2. So it's not as strong as the standard clone effect where you can hit your opponent's cards. You do have to have something worth copying, but it keeps a valuable creature type. If you're running some other good cards, these can be really powerful. And if you don't have anything worthwhile, it's a land. These cards are so versatile. So no, I think the art is great. The flavor is great. And I think it's a super playable card. At the very least, I'm going to be happy to jam this in Brawl or Commander or Limited. So no, I think it's an absolute great card.
Past and
Yeah, I
possibility come
completely agree.
together in vastness of infinite reflection. Wow.
Plus,
Wow.
it really, really is a beautiful card. You are right, Tim.
It's going to be, I'm very excited for the foil on these. I love foil dual-faced cards. They're just extra cool. So very excited. So I'm sure we could go on for another hour or so on these cards. We are going to take a quick commercial break here. And when we come back, we are going to talk about what it means that Magic and D&D are crossing over. So thank you, everybody. We will be right back in just a moment.
Big shout outs to our sponsors this week. We have Nuclear Inked Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. This episode is sponsored by Nuclear Inked Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. At Nuclear Inked, you will find a very inclusive environment with artists that share your interests in nerd culture and fandoms alike. Nuclear Inked prides themselves in being Omaha's premier all-custom tattoo shop. So if you're looking to get a custom tattoo, please check out Nuclear Inked here in Omaha, Nebraska. A link will be in the description down below. InkedGaming.com. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out InkedGaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and so much more. They have recently added a stitch option to all of their playmats. That's what I get. And mouse pads as well. Inked Gaming lets you play your game with your style. If you want to get 10% off your entire order, please use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout, to help support the channel by customizing your game to your style. Cards Custom Build. Are you into cosplay? Looking to get into cosplay? Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, Cards Custom Build can help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, or weaponry, all the way up to full costumes. Do you want to make a cosplay out of perfectly flowing cloth? Or maybe you want rigid battle armor? Cards Custom Build has you covered. Their work is guaranteed to make you the talk of the con. So go over to Cards Custom Build either on Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. And make sure you mention that TCG University sent you there, and you'll get 5% off of your entire order. And Dex Protection. Dex Protection is on a never-ending pursuit to create the highest quality storage and protection accessories. Their design and innovation comes from die-hard gamers and collectors just like you. So they know what you want in the products that you buy. They're constantly taking in feedback from their customers, and they have no plans on stopping their innovations or their drive to refine their products until they're recognized as a leader in their industry. They make terrific products, well, all with the avid gamer and collector in mind. So go ahead and check them out. A link will be in the description down below. And with that, let's get back to the show.
Everybody, and welcome back. We are finally going to get around to talking about this. The plan was to talk about this last week, but we got so excited about new cards and new stuff that we just spent the whole show talking about that. So we are going to talk about the upcoming summer set of 2021, which is Adventures, I believe it, what is it? Adventures in Forgotten, D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, Adventures in Forgotten Realms, which might not be the final set title, but it's likely going to be that or something very close to it. For those of you who didn't see the last show or just out of the loop, we are going to be having a crossover set. So it will be set in Dungeons & Dragons. It's a Dungeons & Dragons themed set, and it'll be set in Forgotten Realms, which is Faerun, which those of you might be familiar with that. Anyone who's, I can't think of the author, I should know this, but anyone who's read the Drizzt book series in the Forgotten Realms, that is where 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons takes place. That is where most of the modules take place, 5th edition. And this is a big deal because we have never crossed the streams like this. And for a long time, Morrow just straight up said, we don't cross the streams. We don't do this. This was sort of unheard of. And it's one of those things that people have talked about for years or expected or asked, are we going to get it? I'm shocked it took us this long to do it because Wizards of the Coast has owned Dungeons & Dragons for a long time. Not the entirety of Magic's life, but like over a decade, maybe over 2 decades, a long time. Wizards has owned Dungeons & Dragons for a while. So, yeah, we're going to Faerun. Thoughts, feelings, concerns, worries? What do we got?
I like... No, I'm excited about this. I play a lot of Pathfinder, which is basically D&D 3.5, but I've played enough 3.5 and enough 5e to be really excited about this. Also, I've read all the... I put it in the chat, too. R.A. Salvatore is the name you're looking for there. Right. Drizzt Do'Urden books, Homeland, and, like the Claire Quintet with Catterley and stuff like that. And I'm excited to see some of. I want to see Catterley as a card. I want to see Dritz Duarden as a card. I want to see Artemis Entreri as a card.
We will. I'm fairly positive we will.
I'm really excited for that. Also, I think it's really good to get some of There's not any name dragons I can think of, but in Dungeons and Dragons, dragons are typically intelligent dragons, at least human intelligence, if not more. I think that creates the opportunity for scholarly dragons, maybe like, even some blue dragons and such like that. Blue as in the magic color. I think Dungeons and Dragons has a lot of great monster iconics like Lolth, for instance, and just some great like incorporating maybe some of the gods from Dungeons and Dragons and stuff, and not to
holders and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I'm excited about that. I'm also excited about some of the relic equipment. Honestly, like I want Drit's freaking scimitar.
Hell yes! Like, oh my god. I am shocked we're getting this. I'm shocked we're getting this in a core set. Also, something to think about is normally we don't know anything about the upcoming commander decks. I would not be at all surprised if the commander decks that come out next year are like Forgotten Realms themed commander decks. So, like, think about like what they did at Ikoria. They're like, oh, we'll do extra Ikoria stuff, and so we got to see some extra legendary creatures, which was cool and all. Don't get me wrong, I like Ikoria. I like the setting. But like if you're doing the D&D set, I feel like if you're gonna do commander decks, why don't you do some? It's like if you can't fit all those characters from the books into your core set, make a Tiamat deck. People like dragons. People like Tiamat. Like, I love god creature types. I would love to see some of the Forgotten Realms gods or the Dungeons and Dragons gods they've kind of incorporated into there. Like, we might get, if we don't get a land called Baldur's Gate, like, we might get Baldur's Gate in Magic the Gathering in a black bordered standard set. Like, I'm so excited. Like they've obviously been like tiptoeing around this. Last year, I think we got Bag of Holding, which is a super fun card. I love having a Bag of Holding. Yep. It's just such a nice, and like this looks to be replacing the core set, which doesn't surprise me. And like if this is kind of like less mechanically complicated than most sets and more of like a standard core set power level, that's fine because there's so much you can do with just like design the D&D thing. Design the Cloak of Charisma. Make an equipment that's a Cloak of Charisma. It doesn't have to be that complicated for me to do like the Leonardo DiCaprio, like the point me. It's the thing. Like, it's so easy. It's like.
Also, can we get Beholder as a creature type? just asking outside of, because they did it in a mystery booster, right?
No, we haven't ever had a Beholder in Magic.
Oh yeah, no shit, we haven't. Yeah, so. Can we get actual beholders as a creature type? Can we?
Also,
that'd be cool.
Now, this is some people I've heard about are like worried. They're like, don't cross this. Like, they're like, you can't combine the canon on these. Like, A, I don't care. The whole point of
B, yes, you can.
Yes, you can. And like, all you need to do is say this is a weird part of the multiverse where the rules are a little bit different, and it's harder to planeswalk to or some shit. So like, and here's the thing. I think we're gonna get one of two things. Either we're going to get our planeswalkers running around the Forgotten Realms, which is awesome. Or if this is replacing the core set normally has 5 planeswalkers in it. Mordenkainen as a planeswalker. That would be cool. I'm trying to think. What are some of the other like old school like high wizard names? Tasha, like all of this spell, like Tasha's Hideous Laughter, Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound, all of those spells that are named after old badass wizards. In D&D, if you're a bad enough wizard, you can just cast Gate. So like, I don't think it's a big stretch. Just like, if you've played Curse of Strahd, spoilers for Curse of Strahd, Mordenkainen like had a concussion and is stuck in Barovia. And so like, I don't think it's a stretch to say these old badass wizards could be like, not just wizards, but these old badass characters that we've literally played with and used their spells for decades could show up as standard legal planeswalkers. Like, that is such a cool idea. And if we just get Jason Chandra in Forgotten Realms, fucking shit, we get Jason Chandra in the Forgotten Realms. Like, also, something to keep in mind, we do not have the next 3 core set years trademarked. And I wouldn't be surprised. I think if this is the only Dungeons and Dragons crossover set, I would be surprised. I think if you replace core sets with a Dungeons and Dragons crossover, you and you can still have it less complicated because I care, because if you stick extra characters and stuff, and I'm going to show up and be excited. And like, think of our roleplay group. Like, I know people who we played, like JC, we play Dungeons and Dragons with people who love these books. Like, I don't think it's going to be that hard to say, hey, do you want to play some Magic the Gathering? You can build a Dritz deck.
Yep.
Like, I have friends who I'm going to try to corrupt with this set. Like, I'm so excited.
So here's I was gonna offer up one of my nerd cards, but I can't because I play a ton of Dungeons and Dragons. I've never played in an official world, right? So you guys are throwing around all these proper names, and I don't know anything about it. And so what's exciting for me as a person who, in my hierarchy, in my totem pole of nerddom, Dungeons and Dragons is higher than my Magic the Gathering, right? And so because of Magic the Gathering, I'm going to get to learn more about D&D because, I mean, just looking at the Zendikar spoilers that we have, I'm learning a ton about the Zendikar world, just in the lore and the pictures and how cards combine and so on and so forth. If the quality of lore building that Wizards has on their cards is going to transfer over into the Dungeons and Dragons world, it's going to be fantastic. And I'm going to learn things about canon Dungeons and Dragons lore. Not to mention, you can take, and because I don't live in this world, because I the nerd player, I don't, that's not how I operate. But man, do I love rogues. And be like, my deck is literally the rogues guild that my character made. Here's my rogues gallery of rogues, right? I love fighters. I made a fighters camp inside of my campaign. Here's a physical representation, and my fighters are gonna beat the shit out of your planeswalker.
And normally I don't sit here and go, think of the merchandising. By the time this set comes out, there will be in early access an official 5th edition's Dungeons and Dragons video game. I think it's Kat, is it the Pillars people who are doing that game? Who are doing the 5th Ed Dungeons and Dragons game? I'll get an answer in a second. There's a delay on the video. So there's an official, so I think it's the Pillars. It's the Divinity. Okay, the Divinity Original Sin people are making an official 5th Ed Dungeons and Dragons game. It's going into early access soon. This set comes out in a year-ish. So there will be an official video game taking place in this area. All of the 5th edition books, most of them are set in Faerun. And a bunch of I have had the opportunity. Hadn't done much in Faerun. I'd read the Dritz books in middle school, some of them, but like I hadn't played the old Baldur's Gate games. But because I've been running these 5th edition modules, I think we own all of the 5th edition modules. And I've done the Curse of Strahd. I've done Tomb of Annihilation. I've done the one with the elementals. I'm totally blanking on the name of it. But I've done like 3 or and I ran Tomb of Horde of the Dragon Queen. So like I've played in or ran 4 of these modules. So like I've started to learn a little bit. So like, I know about Baldur's Gate. So Baldur's Gate, you're not allowed to bring your horses through. You've got to pay people to ferry your stuff through the city. So like, I'm so excited to get like flavor text. So like, I'm excited to see the stuff I've learned in these past few years playing in Faerun, and the people who've been in here playing in this world forever are going to be excited. And the new people are going to get a chance to learn with just playing the magic cards and reading the flavor text they like. We're going to get a bunch of stuff people have been asking for. I have a dwarf tribal deck. You bet your ass we're going to get some dwarves in this set. I'm excited. Like, I do not think, like, the only thing that could get me more pumped than this set is when we do the Wild West world. This is like number 2, and I am excited.
Also, I like the collaboration between Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons, and it just opens up the possibility for more things. I mean, like Tam, to your point, like not even playing like homebrew games and stuff like that of playing in the 5th edition. I would love to have stat blocks for Ikoria monsters and stuff like that I can put into my home games.
And they've been making the Guildmasters Guides to Ravnica. I think we got a Theros book. So they've been going that one direction. It's like, oh, if you want to play D&D and Magic, you can, but now you can play Magic and D&D.
Yep. And that's cool. I honestly hope they keep doing it. I don't see any reason that they're not compatible universes. I mean, like you were saying earlier, Brett, I would love to see just like stats for Chandra and stuff like that in Dungeons and Dragons. And I don't think it's I don't think it's a big thing to like high level wizards can literally cast gate, and high level wizards literally look into other dimensions, and we have planeswalkers, and this is a plane. I mean, I think the storytelling that you could get out of this is a thing that people shouldn't be afraid of. I think it's a thing people should be excited for.
No, and like we've my D&D group a few years back did a Magic themed game, and we just stuck it in Magic sets. But like because how they've changed after the mending, planeswalkers are very much just like D&D characters. And if you want to make your D&D character a planeswalker, all you have to do is make a couple D&D rules for planeswalking. You can pick a play. I mean, you make the rules similar to Gate. You make it give you exhaustion if you keep trying to do it. You throw in a couple feats to tweak planeswalking. And now you've got a world where you can say, I'm going to go to Ravnica. I'm going to jump into Horde of the Dragon Queen. I'm going to do this. We are a group of planeswalkers. So it's not unheard of for DMs to already do Gate shenanigans or say, hey, let's take the characters that you know and love from this set. Let's run them in Faerun. Let's run them in Dark Sun. Let's run them in this different version. And like Curse of Strahd, you wander out of Faerun into a different plane called Barovia. So like, they're already so close, and I've heard people, it's like, oh, you're going to break the rules of Magic, or oh, you're going to break the rules of D&D. It's fantasy, guys. Just let them tweak a couple things here or there. If you don't want Magic to touch your Faerun games, just don't do it. It's D&D. You don't have to buy the books you don't want to. It's the ultimate. I feel if I had to feel bad for someone, which I don't, I'd feel more bad for the Magic players who don't care about D&D and like getting forced to a setting they don't like. But I mean, like, that's the whole point of Magic. You don't love every plane. Not everyone's going to love everything. But
also, I mean, if the Dritz card is a badass card, they're not going to necessarily care about the lore of how Dritz came from this book. You know, like if it's I don't feel bad for the Magic players because I think the Magic players are going to get along if the cards are good enough.
No, this is not an outside of Magic setting. This is very high fantasy Magic stuff. So, like, that's a good point. Like, you don't need to know shit about Dritz to enjoy a Dritz card. You don't know anything about Winota. They just made Winota up. She's a new character. She's Winota. If you like her, great. This is just like, oh, you like this Dritz card? You feel excited about this card? You want to build a commander deck? There's 30 books about this guy. There you go. Enjoy that. Like, there's so much upside that anyone who's crusty about this can just deal with it. I'm sorry.
So let me pivot there, all right, and ask a preliminary question.
Sure.
Do people like the Godzilla crossover?
I think so. Generally,
I think so too.
Morrow said on Blogatalk it's been generally favorable.
Okay. Do you know? So I went to Wizards because like
its scope was pretty limited though.
That was them dipping their toe and seeing what happened, and then we announced the Dungeons and Dragons set.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out to Wizards, and I was like, "Hey, what IPs do they own? You said they have Magic. You said they have Dungeons and Dragons. Do you know what else they have?
They have Transformers. I think.
My Little Pony.
Could you imagine jumping to Cybertron in a Magic set? The Transformers trading card game died. Like they're not making it anymore, from what I've heard. In the chat, in the comments below, let me know. Could you imagine jumping to Transformers? And then from there, if that's successful, being like, hey, Tolkien Estate, I would like to jump to Middle Earth. Hey, XYZ, every place is a plane. And you could take and do this type of jumping if Dungeons and Dragons is successful to whatever you want and start changing and making things crazy.
I would not be surprised if in 10, 20 years we see something like that. They have the mechanic to do the renamed cards so they can reskin traditional Magic cards into techie stuff. And one of the secret layers, I think, was, I don't know if it was Transformers, but like, oh no, it wasn't a secret layer. They did another Mechagodzilla promo card for like a buy a box promo that was Hangerback Walker. So like they have the mechanics to do it gently, but like in 10 years, 15 years, when we've been going to 4 new worlds a year. I don't know if I'm ready to go to Cybertron in a Black Border Standard set, but I might be in 10 years.
You make a good point though, Tim. Like
this is opening the door.
Well, because they
opened the door.
They had a My Little Pony set. It wasn't in Black Border. It wasn't like a
Well, they had three cards. They had a
standard set.
promo package for 3
They
cards.
had, they had a promo set. They had promo cards. They didn't have a whole set, right? And they've done stuff with Secret Lair and stuff like that where they've reskinned cards. So I feel like this is just like they've taken. So like let's print out some like fun promo cards from one of our Hasbro properties. Okay, that was fun. They were nothing. They weren't important. Okay, let's make some like Secret Lair stuff that's like super fun and stuff. Okay, that wasn't a big deal.
There's a Walking Dead Secret Lair coming out. They teased it, so like we don't know how it's going to be, but like they're certainly they're starting that. Sorry, continue. I just want to jump in. Like they're definitely
like the Walking Dead the comic or the show.
Yeah, the show. Like we've seen a token of a Walking Dead zombie as a 2/2 zombie. We don't have more information, but like I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Rick as a reskinned, like the Godzilla naming convention method. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that.
Can I just have flavor text that says Carl?
Carl.
But no, I feel like Magic's Wizards has been tiptoeing toward, other Hasbro properties for a little bit now, and not in any substantial way. And this Dungeons and Dragons, like we're explicitly going to the Forgotten Realms, is like their first that's going to be our target. That's the closest thing to Magic. That's the most compatible thing to Magic. Let's do it. And I think this opens the door to seeing more Hasbro properties in Black Border sets.
And here's the thing. I am ready for Drizzt meets Chandra. I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for Megatron meets Chandra just yet. Like I have some hesitance. If they announce next year we're going to Cybertron, I would not be as jazzed as I am right now with Forgotten Realms. But Drizzt meets Chandra and Jace and Liliana stumbling around Baldur's Gate, stumbling around the Sword Coast. I'm in. That's appealing.
Agreed.
The thing is like it wouldn't be every set though, right? It'd be like one, and it doesn't have to be a core set. Like them doing it for a core set is awesome, I guess.
But you could do a silver bordered set, or you could even do a supplementary mystery booster. It's Battle Bond. It is Cybertron. The cards are mechanically Transformers, but it's a side set. You could do that.
So I was going to do my best to not talk about my shitty other Mistress of a Card Game universes, but the way that they're doing it is they have universes as a card game, and then they have the My Hero Academia card game, and they're two separate things. But the mechanics for both games are exactly the same. And you can take the My Hero cards and put them inside of universes. There's going to be an entire My Hero Academia format that the My Hero promotions that are going to be happening on TV and all over the internet, they're going to talk about universes. They're going to talk about the MHA card game. That could be a way that the Transformers card game comes back. Is you take the mechanics of Magic, and it is a Magic they've got Magic the Gathering backs. You could take your Transformers and put it in Magic, or you can make Transformers its own thing. You can have entire standard sets without Transformers.
I mean, go ahead, JC.
No, that's interesting because most silver bordered sets they obviously operate within the rules of Magic and they're like legit Magic cards, but like they're not playable really in. Like, you couldn't just stick them in your Magic game and have them make sense from a power level and mechanic perspective.
Sure.
But what if they were to print a silver bordered set that did make sense from a power and perspective?
And I will actually say some of the older silver bordered cards are kind of jokey, but the more recent silver bordered ones, they've really tried to make them Magic cards. And so they experiment in areas that aren't like D6 rollings and like different kind of weird mechanics. So like, there has been, if somebody rolled up to play Commander with us and they had a silver bordered Commander from the most recent set, A, I'd let them, and B, it actually wouldn't be that weird. And like, even the My Little Pony Commanders, like if somebody built a My Little Pony deck, it'd be okay. Like you could still make that deck and we could play Commander together. You can bring it to a tournament, but think about I don't know how popular that My Little Pony thing is, but think if you could go to an audience who doesn't play Magic at all, just like Cam said, and go, here's a My Little Pony set. It's a purple border set. You can make the backs look, you could have a Magic back, or you could have it be a My Little Pony purple is purple, and it could be its own standalone card game. But if you keep the mechanics the same and you don't fuck up the balance too hard, people could shuffle them together. Now, I don't think we'll see that going on at the next Mythic Invitational, but the Commanders people have already said, there was a whole month in Commander where they said all uncards are legal, just go nuts. And the whole point of Commander is
they did do that.
So like,
and you're absolutely right. The most recent unglued sets, the most recent unsets have been fairly okay. Like as far as like these are real Magic cards.
Yeah. So like, fuck it. If you want to say this is not even a Magic card release. We're making a game it's a My Little Pony game, but all the rules fit, and you could hypothetically play them against each other. The people in Magic who love My Little Pony, they're going to buy it. The people who want weird stuff for Commander, who their casual group's going to play it, they'll buy it. And all of the My Little Pony fans are now know how to play Magic the Gathering. And they can install Magic the Gathering Arena on their telephone.
And Wizards can then take and be like, hey, we're introducing a new format called the Wild West, where you take your black bordered Magic cards, your silver bordered Crazy cards, your purple bordered My Little Pony cards, your blue bordered Transformer cards, your red bordered Dungeons and Dragons cards, and you smash them up. Here's our event.
Yeah,
it's the Wild West, baby. Let's everybody's planeswalking everywhere.
And Commander would already just probably say, as long as the cards were balanced, you could just probably run them in Commander. Yeah. And who gives a shit? It's Commander. There ain't no rules. It's Commander. So like, no, like I'm excited for this weird future we're heading into.
I do wonder, because I know like Commander and like home games and stuff like that totally fine. I think Magic. I think WotC, like official events, take themselves too seriously to do what you're suggesting, Tim, yet. But maybe one day.
Maybe the PTQ that's happening at the Magic Fest is just standard or historic or whatever. Or modern, it's a paper thing. But this is Magic Fest. Magic Fest is supposed to be a wacky convention. It's supposed to be about the side events now. So I can see a world where we have Magic Fest it's not a PTQ. It is a Magic convention where a PTQ is happening, and you can play My Little Pony Magic Mashup at this side event, and participation gets you a prize from the prize wall.
And the prize wall is a life-size, a massive card of one of the sets that we've made of Transformers, Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, Star Trek, Star Wars. Disney characters, we're Wizards of the Coast, baby. We fucking bought it all.
And then here's my thing. It's like, I don't want to learn other card games, but if I could play a Magic adjacent Star Trek card game where I could shuffle them into my normal Magic cards, you better bet your ass I'd be playing that Star Trek card game.
Instead of lands, you're putting down parts of your ship, and that's what's giving you different spots. Yep. So like your 5 colors of the different departments that you have.
It's good. It's like I said, it's really hard to pull me into a new card game. It would not be hard to sell me a Star Trek expansion with a different border. And Wizards likes money.
Yeah.
And I like giving my money to Wizards. You let me build a William T. Riker Commander deck, and you can keep it distinct enough so that the Magic purists can ignore it if they want to. That's a world I want to live in. I'm not saying let's throw out all the rules for Magic world building and sort of stuff, but you better believe I'm sticking those Godzilla cards in my Commander decks because I love me some swag. So I don't know. I'm sure some of our listeners are cringing right now at everything we're pitching.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm absolutely sure.
I'm down. I'm down for this world.
Like part of me is like, yeah, I'm down for Megatron gets a Planeswalker Spark. I'm kind of down for that, but also like, I'm sorry, audience.
And I think there's ways that you can preserve what is special about Magic and still do these side things and get people excited and make a bunch of money. I think there's a way for everybody to win.
Yep, but for now, Dungeons and Dragons, exciting.
Cannot wait for more info
let's
on
see
that.
Some official.
There's so many. We're so far away from it, but like, we just finished one spoiler season. We haven't even got Commander Legends, but it'll be here before you know it. We'll be seeing previews for all these new sets. Any final thoughts before we wrap it up? Because I think we're probably about that time.
Nope, I'm good.
All right, I think we
Not
hit
really.
it all.
This is very exciting. I like what you're doing, WotC. Even the banned cards and power levels you've been pushing, it's fine.
No, we have a lot of cool stuff right now. I'd rather WotC take some gambles and see what pays off. So, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We're going to continue on a little bit in the post show. I don't know what we're going to talk about just yet, but tune in to find out. If you are watching this on YouTube on the normal release and you want to catch the pre and post show, you can kick $1 to us a month on Patreon, and you can go back and watch all the pre and post shows beforehand. get weird TV recommendations, and listen to us actually talk about Magic for some of it. Thank you all for tuning in. If you want to tune into my Brawling with Brett stream this Wednesday, we will be saying a farewell to all of the cards that will be rotating out, and we'll be looking forward to an exciting new standard and new Brawl standard with Zendikar. So thank you all for tuning in. We will catch you all next week. Have a good one, and make sure to remember who you are.